Hello, Jeremy Chambers, Independence Acres Homestead here. Wanted to share today with you, it is something we haven't seen here in a while in Michigan, a sunny spring morning. We've been fighting rain and cold weather for such a long time that today is going to be a very busy day as we try to get some stuff done in the garden. Today we're going to be working on putting up a squash arch and also on our tomato trellises so that we can get our tomatoes, some of them in the ground today, hopefully. We still got some iffy weather in the forecast, so we'll be working on getting those trellises properly covered and protected from any of the heavy thunderstorms or severe weather that might be coming our way over the next week. Okay, so in order to begin our squash trellis, the squash arch, we're going to start by cutting and bending some rebar to make some stakes to stake the ends of our cattle panels down. What we're using is 16 feet long by 50-inch cattle panels that we purchased at our local farm store for a reasonable price. Good weekend sale going on. And we need to create an arch. We want them to be at least about 5 feet tall at the arch so we can get underneath in order to harvest the squash. But also we want to make sure that they're solidly in the ground. So we're going to cut the rebar down to about 1.5 feet. We'll bend a hook on it so that we can stake the ends of the trellis of the cattle panel into the ground. And then we'll also put some supports on it. We'll be using some reclaimed chain link fence tubing, and we'll be cutting that down to about 6 foot lengths in order to create the supports that we need, just to keep it from shaking around and also to support the weight of the squash. Okay, now we've got the posts driven and these all set. Last thing to do is to lash these together a little bit with some wire just to create stability between the two panels. And then we're also going to wire the panels to the post just so they don't sag, and should be good to go. All right. Okay, the arch is up. And the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna dig a small trench about 1 foot off of the base of the squash arch. This gives a place for the water to go so that our squash seeds don't get drowned out. We don't want them rotting in the ground. We want them to actually produce. We'll mix in a little bit of rabbit manure there along the hills, and we'll be ready to get some squash seeds in the ground today. Okay, so we've got the squash arch mostly done. Now it's just time to add some compost to those hills and get some seeds in the ground. Can't wait to see those things growing. Next step for us today is to start working on the tomato trellis. We're going to be using some more of the reclaimed chain link fence poles and posts in order to get the uprights for our trellis. And then we are using 4-foot 2x4 wire for the actual trellis support itself. We're going to be doing kind of a serpentine style so that we can get as many tomatoes in a compressed area as possible. And the other reason we're going to do the serpentine style is this way I'll be able to lay some plastic sheeting over the top and sides and secure that down to protect our plants from any heavy thunderstorms that we might be getting over the next week or so. First step is to cut all of our poles, all of our uprights. We'll be, like I said, just cutting these with a 4-inch angle grinder here with the cutoff blade. Always make sure that you have eyes and ear protection because you don't want to have any metal shards or anything of that nature flying up at you. You will see I am in shorts with my farm boots on. It actually is a little warm out today, but it's just one of the sacrifices we make for not having torrential downpours. Once we get the uprights cut and in the ground, the next step will be, again, stringing out our wire. And like I said, we're going to be kind of doing it in an S-curve pattern so that we can plant a tomato in the depth of every curve but have as much surface area as possible in order to trellis out those branches. Okay, one of the things I also want to share is that in order to get the uniform S-curve in our wire, we're going to be using one of those 55-gallon drums as our bending radius in order to get some nice tight uniform S-curves. You know, you can use whatever you have available. This is just what we had available. Now, trellises are important for indeterminate heirloom varieties because those things are growing year-round. A determinate plant, which is what a lot of your bush-style tomato plants are, it's only going to grow to a certain point and then stop. Indeterminate, it's going to grow until the end of the growing season, until you get your first frost. So for us, these suckers should be growing until September, maybe even possibly early October. Alright, so we've got tomato trellis number 1 ready. So now that we have got it up, here you go, you can see the S-curve a little better from this angle, right? Alright, so our next step is we're going to be digging, the boys are doing this right now, digging a trench right along the edge of the S-curve, and we're going to mound the dirt inside each of the S's. So that'll give us a little bit of a raised area so that the water will shed a little better in case we get too much rain, and the trench will help keep the water away off the roots of the tender young plants. Okay, and there we are. The east side of the garden is ready for its vegetable plants. Next step, we're going to get the tomatoes in the tunnel over here and get the squash planted on the squash arch. I'm really excited about how these trellises turned out. We were able to get almost 52 linear feet of surface area, 4 feet high, in only a straight run of about 30 feet. So this is really going to give us maximum surface area for our tomato plants to really be able to spread out and produce to their fullest potential. The last thing we're going to do is, I've already got it on the back one up there, is we have, as I showed you earlier, we put the plastic on, but then I've also put some 1-inch conduit on the sides of that plastic to make it easy to put it up and lay it down and just give it a little bit of extra mass and some stiffness and rigidity along that bottom edge so that we don't have it blowing into the plants and smacking around in case we have some winds or some breezes. But this plastic should give the protection that we need on the cooler Michigan nights and also on the heavy downpours that we have coming in over the next week or so. Actually, even tonight we're expecting some thunderstorms. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that our explanation of our trellises here and our squash arch has helped you a little bit if you haven't gotten your plants in yet or gotten your trellises put up for your tomatoes. If it was helpful, go ahead and help us out by liking this video, subscribing to our channel so you'll be alerted anytime we have any new videos pop up. Next video showing up this week will be our next in our series on cuniculture. And if you're not sure what that is, make sure you watch the video from 2 weeks ago. Have a great day, and as always, God bless.